Live from the Valley, it's your host, former Miss USA, Nia Sanchez.
Hey, baby. Okay, welcome to the Hold My Crown podcast, where we dive into life, pageants, reality TV, parenting, and so much more. Join us for special guests from your favorite reality shows and some of my very good friends, other beauty queens. This is Hold My Crown.
Hold my crown.
Hi, welcome back to the Hold My Crown podcast. I am so excited that you are here. I have some very special guests today.
Yeah, we do.
We are so excited. Daniel, of course, the wonderful Daniel Bucco.
Hello.
And Nick and Lauren Mulenos. Welcome.
Yeah.
Hi. Going to do a quick little intro and then we'll get right into the questions because we are excited to share lots of parenting advice with you because we're experts. Just kidding. We're not experts.
All of us are experts.
We are.
Nia was waiting
We
for
are.
you to
We are.
So Nick and Lauren moved from Texas to California almost 6 years ago now. Lauren is a writer and author and founder of boygirlmom.com. I could go off on a long tangent about how I love all the things that Lauren does. Nick is a self-proclaimed loud nerd and tech consultant, and they are both full-time parents to 3-year-old twins who happen to welcome Asher into the group sometimes as like an honorary triplet because
Yes.
Asher is the same size as Cypress and they both have blue eyes and similar color hair and haircuts.
Same age.
We try to just like push Asher off on you guys sometimes.
They
take
look
him. We'll take
like
him.
they're like a little pack of three.
A little
They do.
trio.
Yeah.
3-pack.
They do.
Yes. So welcome to the podcast. How are you guys doing today?
Welcome.
Thank you.
We're good. We're great. We're happy to be here.
We're
Good.
pumped.
Before we get into the questions, actually, I would love for you to tell us just a little bit about Olive and Cypress, your boy-girl twins.
Oh, I wasn't prepared for this, but we could go on and on about them. Do you want to start?
So we've got twins. They're one boy, one girl. Cypress is the boy. Olive is the girl. They're incredible. They're growing super quickly.
Are they identical twins?
That's the question we get every time when we say they're boy girl.
Boys and girls have
Every single
different
time.
chromosomes.
Yeah.
So
Like, oh,
Great
bless
question.
your-
Daniel. They
bless
are
your
not
soul.
identical.
Bless your soul.
Yeah.
No.
Um,
Use your brain.
I mean, they're into Spider-Man, Buzz, Lightyear, Woody, princesses. I mean, they're growing.
they love Gabby's Dollhouse on Netflix right now.
That's true.
That's a
Shout
favorite
out
right
to
now.
Gabby's Dollhouse.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think it's interesting. It's almost like our own science experiment because you think just because they're twins, as you know, they're the same, and ours aren't identical, but they have their own personalities, their own spirits, and so even though they are the same age, it's really interesting because they both were in my womb at the same time. They had access to the same amount of food, and then they both come out different. So I think it's just a testament to parenting that every kid, even twins, will have to be parented differently.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And even with our identical twin girls, we notice huge differences. And it's just like the same thing you said. You grew up the same together, but they're so different. Everybody has different personality. They also, Lauren and Nick's twins, are wonderful performers. We have personally experienced their national anthem
Yes.
at church, standing up on like a little platform. And then
Yes.
there's a recent viral video, which will only take the positive comments on that video because, once it goes viral, everybody has an opinion.
Everybody hates it
But
right now.
I love that Lauren, the way, and this will ease us into the parenting conversation. When I saw this video, it was her twins at the airport essentially putting on a show for all the passengers of the flight before they got on the plane and making an announcement and singing a song, and the whole crowd, it was like they had a whole performance. They were cheering for them. And when I saw this video, I thought, I want to parent more like Lauren. I need to let those moments happen.
Yeah.
So I want to say from another twin parent, I loved it. What's been your experience with that viral video?
Well, I just thought it was hilarious because this was also a trip. It was my first trip without Nick. So I was flying by myself with the twins.
That's a lot.
And I'm not letting them do whatever they want. These people on the video think I'm just letting them go crazy. And no, they're not doing anything wrong.
Nope.
They we're literally at the back of the airport. We're flying out of Love Field, which is a small airport in Dallas, the very back of the airport. There's people around, but they're literally at the back. There's no one, I don't know. So then I look over and they're like, everybody, the show's about to start.
Yeah, welcome to the magic show.
Welcome to the magic show.
Which has nothing to do with the song.
Yeah.
they're singing.
Out of
And so
nowhere.
then, Nick's like, and I
Amazing.
showed it to Nick later. Obviously, he's like, they're over there busking. I'm like, I mean, I guess I've seen it in New York and when we were just in London,
right.
but They were just, putting on a show. And afterwards, all of us, like, they loved it.
They did.
Everybody clapped for me. And, like, even she saw Nick watching the video that he'd posted because he was looking at all the comments. And Olive was like, I sang for everybody, and they were so happy.
Yeah.
And
But
they were.
I guess it doesn't bother me. They weren't being, an airport is a loud place, and that's like the main negative thing I've gotten about it is like, oh, airports are stressful. And I'm like, they are.
And
But-
cute children make it a happy
No
place.
kidding.
And to be clear, I only got positive comments from it. Like people were coming up to me. People were making comments about the lady sitting in the wheelchair there. She couldn't get enough of them.
Yeah.
A guy came up and was like, they melted me. They melted my heart.
Yeah.
One guy came up and like tipped them with candy. Like, I mean,
That
only
was sweet.
positive comments. I'm sure that some people might have been annoyed, but it's so loud at the airport anyway.
What I love about it is that like we've tried really hard to make them think like the world is their friend and the people around them are friends.
Yeah.
So like I love that they are comfortable performing
Yeah.
and entertaining people, and even if they're being silly and loose on the side, like it's just fun to see them wanting to bring joy to other people.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a comfort there that I think, they are their own people that are confident enough to do that, but I do think we've raised them a little bit to be friendly and to enjoy the presence of others.
Even
Yeah.
when they were little, like 6 weeks flying on an airplane, Nick would always like pull their baby hand up and like wave at people coming onto the airplane. So I
Yeah.
feel like they want to be friends with people, and it's not about them truly. It's like they are trying to like make other people happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they do that. They're like the sweetest. I have so many stories about how much I love their kids. But let's get into the questions, because today's episode, I feel like people can even take away little nuggets from that. But today's episode is very much, I want the parents or the even like friends of parents that are listening to be able to have a lot of takeaways. And we will preface this by saying none of us are experts, but we love being parents, and we try really hard. Lauren and I are in a mom's book club, so we're always learning and doing our very best. So this is not like, this is what will work for your kid kind of conversation. It's, this is what works for our family through a lot of trial and error. And we're all doing our best. So I'll let Daniel kind of start us off with the first question, and we'll kind of go back and forth. We'll get your advice, and you can share advice from us, or we can share our own advice as well. But I want people to feel like they have a lot of good takeaways that might help them at home.
Yeah. I mean, this kind of goes off of kind of what we were just talking about, but how do you help kids express their feelings in a healthy way?
Especially when they have those like big emotions. I know Asher has been having a lot of big emotions lately.
I think the biggest thing right now I'm doing is just like letting them have their moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We don't want them like to bottle it in. Just it may not look healthy to other people. Like for example, when I was traveling just recently by myself and I had to go through security, one of them had a big moment through security, and I was just like, "There's nothing can say or do here that's gonna make it better. I'm just gonna let them have their moment on the floor."
Yeah.
That probably looked like to some people like I wasn't parenting, but
Right.
they needed to have their moment. And actually, I was in a great mood that day, so I'm so glad because one of the TSA people said that child is in the way. I'm like, okay. So I moved them and let them have their moment on another floor, like over by me, but it wasn't fast enough. And I literally just looked at the TSA person. I was like, I'm doing the best that I can.
Yeah.
And then I just like went on about my way. I wasn't going to let
Yeah.
it affect me because like that's the best. I feel like I'm my best when I'm not letting it affect me because it's not about me.
Yeah.
It's about them having their moment. And, there's science behind it that tantrums are a whole thing of like your brain, the amygdala and everything
Yeah.
processing. So
Right.
it can be inconvenient, but I think there's a lot of things about parenting that can be inconvenient, but that doesn't mean that they're not worth it to just push through.
Another thing we
Absolutely.
do that you're better at than I am is like validating the feeling they're having.
Yeah.
So saying like, are you feeling upset right now? Are you feeling sad right now? And then they'll usually say yes, and we'll go on from there and kind of unpack why. So like it goes along the lines of letting them have their moment, like validating that the feeling they're feeling is okay, and we see it, and we're going to dive into it with them.
Well,
Yeah.
and as far as like having kids who are different, one of our kids wants to be alone. They'll eventually come to us, but the other one is okay with being comforted by us, but the other one just needs to have their moment. And there's
Yeah.
not a right way. It's
Right.
often easier to hold the one and like
Right.
comfort it physically, but they're going to be different.
Yeah, I love the quote that I feel like kind of encompasses everything that you said, where it is, they're not giving you a hard time, they're just having a hard time. So it's like, don't take it personally. Like you said, you try not to let it affect you because it's not about you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like we do very similar. Do you have anything
Yeah.
different that
No,
we do?
it sounds pretty spot on to what kind of we do. Just understanding that they're having a moment, getting to their level, right?
Yeah.
Speaking in a calm manner, and trying to figure out what to do. Do you want to blow out the candles on the finger? Asher's so good at just kind of regulating his breathing and things that we've taught him with that.
Yeah.
And then, sometimes just, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. Don't want to do that. Do you want me to just hug you? And sometimes that's all it is. He just wants to be picked up and held and cry. And sometimes he'll just say, I just want to cry.
Yeah.
We're like, okay, then just cry.
Which, like, as adults, sometimes there's nothing wrong. We just want to cry.
Yeah.
So I think that's the other thing, is remembering, like, we have the same thing. What was that book, Nia, that we read where it's like we're in charge of the demeanor of the room? Do you remember? It's what we're basically saying, but it's like we're in charge. It's our job to keep the calm.
We've
As
read
parents,
so many
you mean?
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, as parents.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Now, don't get me wrong real quick, okay? We are not perfect in this situation, and we did also have a thing at the TSA, and after carrying, we look like a circus when we go through the
We
airport.
do.
We look like
Oh my
we were about to
gosh.
climb Mount Everest. Like, I got
Giant bags on us,
everywhere.
in front of us. Yeah.
Everybody's just looking at us.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Why are you even why are you even
Why
here
are you
traveling?
here?
Yeah.
It's crazy. And Asher was having, a big blow up. And we also got our twins, you know what I mean?
Oh, you were very frustrated
So
in that moment.
I did not keep my cool in that moment.
Sounds like you had no reason to be frustrated at all.
very
Sounds like a very
frustrated.
calm situation.
My back is broken. I'm sweating profusely.
Yeah.
And, it was, but,
And we still have the two babies.
Right.
And
So
then
she
our
has
oldest is on the floor.
back
screaming.
bending, screaming.
And he never does this.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
he doesn't.
So also caught us off guard.
Yeah.
So
They find the perfect time.
I didn't have the fuse or the bandwidth for it, but we're very good with communicating, and she was like, "Take the girls.
Yeah.
I'm gonna deal with this."
Right.
And I was like, "All right."
Parenting technique
I gotta
for
walk
each
away.
other. We do like tap in, tap out.
same.
We do the same.
So if we can tell, like, okay, because it's natural, like you get frustrated, like
Yeah.
those moments
Yeah.
happen. And so we're like, okay, I got it. I will take over for you.
That-
Don't worry about it.
That happened to us yesterday. My fuse was very short, and I felt bad that it was short because they were at school and then they stayed for aftercare. So they were gone from 9 to 2. And then they come back, and I'm just like, why don't I have the patience that I should have from like being alone
Right.
all day?
Right.
And Nick was like, it's okay. He came, I tapped out, he tapped in.
Yeah.
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 Well, and remember
Teamwork.
what else I told you? I
Yeah.
said it doesn't matter that you weren't with them for a certain amount of time. Like it's a frustrating situation that you are in, and it shouldn't make it easier just because you had time you weren't watching them this morning.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like
Absolutely.
Yeah.
sometimes you got to validate your partner's feelings a little bit.
Exactly.
Yeah,
You
I
know?
love that. This is not only parenting for kids, but partner
Yeah.
like
Right.
relationship
You
within
got
parenting.
so much going on in your life besides,
Yeah.
raising your kids, which is a full-time job.
Yeah.
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 Yes.
Lots of plates spinning in that air.
I just received my most recent box of Nutrafol, and I actually started taking Nutrafol right after the twins were born. I noticed that my hair was thinning, especially around my hairline, and I was not feeling it. I truly love that they take a whole body approach to hair health. Nutrafol works from the inside out, so you can start loving your hair again. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand, trusted by over 1.5 million people. See thicker, stronger, faster growing hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol. While many supplements rely solely on ingredient studies, Nutrafol clinically tests final formulations to ensure their efficiency. In a clinical study, 86% of women reported improved hair growth after taking Nutrafol women hair growth supplements for 6 months. I am one of those women. I have noticed a difference. My hair feels thicker and fuller. I also love that they make it so easy to build a hair growth routine. They make it simple. You just purchase online, no prescription required, automated deliveries, and free shipping keep you on track. Plus, with a Nutrafol subscription, you can save up to 20%. You'll have access to free naturopathic doctor consults, and a Headspace meditation membership is included. Start your hair growth journey with Nutrafol. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code HMC. Find out why over 4,500 healthcare professionals and stylists recommend Nutrafol for healthier hair. Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code HMC. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code HMC. So speaking of all the craziness that we can deal with having young children, do you guys have a method or a technique for discipline when you feel like it's necessary, or is it more setting boundaries? You don't want to be the bad guy, but you want to guide them to be healthy, young little people that operate well in the world. It's what do you have a technique for discipline? What's your guys' approach there?
My favorite phrase to use with them right now is to give a headline. Is to say your body is telling me this. So it kind of is about, it's kind of a warning. Mm-hmm. So for example, let's say we're going to go meet you at the park. I'm okay, we're going to go play with Asher. Before we leave, we always go to the bathroom and wash our hands. And they don't want to do it. So I say, okay, your body is telling me that you don't want to go play at the park with Asher. Ooh. And they're no, I want to. I'm I know, then go do what we need to do. We know the routine. Yeah. And so that's kind of a warning. Mm-hmm. And it lets them realize the consequences. I feel that's what I'm struggling with them right now, is making them realize it's okay. Our favorite song right now is from Gabby's Dollhouse, the Whoopsie I Made a Mistake, but it's okay, which I think is so good for kids, because it's not, we don't want them to feel shame and the weight of these small mistakes they're making as kids. But I'm there's a consequence here. Yeah. So you have to learn that. And that's my favorite phrase to use with them right now. As far as discipline, I feel we just have to stick to it. Mm-hmm. We have to say okay, well, we're not watching Gabby's Dollhouse this afternoon, and just sticking to it, even though it might be easier just to do it.
Right.
I don't know what to call it. I would say we do little light punishments where a certain toy we know they're into needs to take a nap for a while. Mm-hmm. You know, or and we try to stay away from the threat of if you don't do this, your toy's going away. Right. Yeah. We try and use the positive way where you taught me this, where it's if you'd like to keep playing with this truck, we need you to do this. Yeah. You know, so you're still saying this truck's going to go away if you don't do what I need you to do, but it's not a threat, and it's not something they need to be afraid of.
I think it's really hard to not threaten sometimes, and I think that was Dr. Becky, the positive affirmation, but I think sometimes the positive affirmation doesn't work, just switching it, and so that's when I kind of lean into your body is telling me this. Yeah. There was one other thing I was going to say about discipline. No, I don't remember.
I mean, I'm thinking of the shadow form of our discipline. I do go into the threats, and I don't want to. If I'm frustrated, I will go into hey, we're shutting this off, or you're not playing with this if this continues.
Two things. One, if I can share one thing I think that doesn't work that you do.
Hit me.
Is you don't say no to me. And that
Daniel says that too.
Okay.
Because then they're you don't say no to me.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
Let me tell you something about this, okay?
I know. Well, there's some of that inherent parental authority that I think is in you, and I don't love it when I say that. I actually hate it when I say that, because it reminds me that's kind of how I was brought up. Whatever mom and dad say, you just do that. Yeah. It's the blind following, Yeah. And I do want them to have enough trust in us to want to listen and do what we're asking, but I don't know how else to say it right now. I don't have good words for it when we're super frustrated. I know, but it's also, and sometimes I say it to them in support of you. You're asking them to do something, and I say, we don't say no to mom. We do what mom's asking, So yeah.
I think for me,
I'll take all the suggestions.
I want them to know that they can say no, right? I don't want them to think that they can't say no, but let's be respectful about it.
Yeah. I try to give Asher.
Say no to daddy.
I know. Daniel says the same thing. I try to give him other options. Instead of no, maybe it's, can we do this next, or whatever it is. I really want to don't just say a no. So I try to give him other options so he has those tools. But I do catch Asher saying to me, don't talk to me like that. And I'm okay, well then I must have definitely said that to you recently, because where else is he getting it from except from me?
I think they sometimes come up with it. One thing Olive says right now is I don't like that face.
Oh my
Or Cypress will also say, don't say that to me.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So we get it. We've been there. Yep. Yes. Now we do timeouts, but we do timeouts with Asher. So like right now we don't do
Time
time
in.
outs for the girls. So yeah, a time in where we don't say go sit by yourself in a corner. We say we need to take a little break because of whatever behavior is not approved behavior. So we will go sit with him in a separate space and wait. And I use the body language. It's like your body needs to calm down before we can go back and do that activity. And so we'll wait and we'll do some deep breaths and we'll kind of talk it out and then go back. So time in, I like that versus time out.
Also as good as we set a timer.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, we love
He
timers.
can actually see, you know what I mean?
They love timers.
It's
They
great.
love to
I
see
know.
it. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Asher asks for a timer.
Yeah, so do the twins.
Yeah.
Yes, timers are very helpful.
But
Although
usually, go ahead.
I said, although he doesn't like the timer when at night when he wants to snuggle with daddy.
Yeah.
And
We say 5
Timer.
You
minutes.
set a
Say 5
timer on
minutes.
your son's love?
Wow.
exactly. Because I know it's going to go from this to this
Oh,
to
yeah.
this.
If you give
a
to
mouse a
to
cookie.
this.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it
Oh,
literally
yeah.
is a 2-hour process right
yeah.
now if I'm putting him down. Nia is much better. I am crawling into that crib at the end of the night.
Every
'cause I'm
night.
just like,
Yeah. Okay. Well,
and I never used to be that way.
Yeah.
But now, you know, the all the Instagrams and all the things are like, you're not gonna have this forever.
You're going to miss this.
I know.
You
Yeah.
miss it. And
Yeah.
it just
Gosh,
pulls
that
on me
song.
corazon. And it's just like, all right, I'm getting in your bed, and I am very uncomfortable because I can't fit in here. But then he'll just rub my arm, and he'll just say out of nowhere, "I love you so much,
Oh,
Daddy."
gosh.
And I'm just like,
Yep, I'm staying.
I'm staying. I'm
Yeah.
sleeping in here. What else do you want?
I love that you made this an easy transition for me into bedtime because I know a lot of parents, all 4 of us included, can struggle with bedtime routine. Have you found any techniques? So we all have 3-year-olds, and then Daniel and I also have 1.5-year-olds. So at any age where there's been struggles, what has worked? What has helped? What techniques work for your family?
I mean, I would say this isn't like our proprietary system, but consistency is super important. So like
100%.
we do have like our bedtime routine has changed over time, but staying consistent in the period we're in, like with whatever that bedtime routine is, that's super important. So right now it's usually bath, pajamas, restroom, like books, Bible story, affirmations, and then we pray and go to bed, you know? So,
Yeah.
and they know in sequence what's coming next. Like if we've missed something, they'll call us out if we've missed something,
Right.
which is kind of cute and beautiful, right? So
Yeah.
that really helps right now is
Yeah.
consistency.
I have a question
Yeah.
for y'all.
Yeah.
Do you say pajamas or pajamas?
Oh my gosh.
Pajamas.
I say PJs or jams.
Okay, I say pajamas. Nick says pajamas. I'm just interested to
I
see
say,
what our kids
hold
will
on,
say.
let me think. I say pajamas.
Yeah, pajamas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes I say
Because you speak
jammies.
English and you
Okay.
understand how to
All
say
right,
it.
rude. I think it's a
Yeah.
Texas thing. I think it's a Texas thing.
It may be.
Right now, Nick usually is putting them to sleep because I'm typically with them during the day. And so it's kind of like his time with them. I'll like maybe do a story or something. I started doing a chapter book with them. So I'll maybe come in and read. Right now we're reading Charlotte's Web. So I may come read a chapter with them before going to sleep. But bedtime's hard. I think when they turn 2, so October 2023, they stopped sleeping through the night. And so that was a real wake up,
Yeah.
right, actually, for us.
Yeah.
And that was a really hard year as far as sleeping in general because naps, they would fight the nap one more than the other. And we ended up just dropping the nap because of how tough bedtime routine is. So like
Yeah.
I know how debilitating, I think is a word I would use to describe it, because it would take like 2-3 hours as
Oh.
Wow.
you know, because like one of them
Sometimes with both of us, it was still
Yeah.
2 or 3
Yeah.
hours.
yeah. And it wasn't really the big kid bed transition for us though, because we transitioned to that, I'd say, fairly early just because they were jumping out of the beds and we didn't want them to hurt
Yeah.
themselves.
I know.
Launching
Same with
themselves
Asher.
out of the
Yeah.
crib.
Yeah.
But I think once we dropped the nap, as painful as that was, it was also very freeing because it made them fall asleep earlier at night. And so
Right.
we got our night back because we were getting out of their room at like 9:30, 10 p.m. And I'm like, well, I guess we can try to have a conversation.
Right.
Yeah.
Like
No.
we don't, like,
You're
yeah.
spent.
No,
You
yeah.
got nothing left
I don't
to
even
give.
want to watch a show.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No
and so
kidding.
sometimes I think parenting is constantly changing,
Yeah.
and like you have the right to change your mind, and you should change your mind because you're if you're growing, evolving, you have to change. And sometimes I was really sad to drop the naps, but I'm also like, I get to do more things with them during the day. So I
Right.
think
Yeah.
it can be sad, like to end. I think that's parenting in general. It can be sad to end an era,
Right.
but then like you're moving into some other cool things in the
Yeah.
era too.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Bedtime is not easy.
No.
No. And I love the consistency. I think that's the only thing really that I could even say helps us is as much
Yeah.
consistency as possible. We do certain trade-offs. Lately, literally the last 3 or 4 nights, Asher's been wanting 5 minutes of story time on one of his like little music boxes, like a
Yeah.
Tony's or something like that. So I say, okay, well then we'll put your books aside for the morning because normally we do 2 or 3 books before bed.
Mhm.
So we'll trade that off. Okay, you can have 5 minutes of story time with your Tony's box, but then we'll do books in the morning. So it's generally a similar, consistent routine, but we've been doing some trade-offs lately.
This boy been playing me like a fiddle
Yeah.
lately.
It's the daddy I
Yeah.
need you that just
it's,
pulls on his heartstrings.
I need you. I need you. I
Yeah.
want you. I need you.
We have the
need
"I
you."
want you." That's
Yeah.
that they both say
Oh,
it
they all want
specifically.
Nick.
Cypress,
and it's
yeah.
just it's
Well, I
just it's tough. But
I-
I want to rewind real quick,
Yeah.
just because this is a huge thing. Sleep training when they were younger. When did you start doing sleep
Did
training?
you do sleep
Did you
training?
do sleep training?
And
What kind of?
So I read I guess the first 2 sections or age groups for taking care of babies. So we
Yeah.
did implement, the laying down, not asleep,
Right.
don't
Yeah.
feed to sleep, and there's a couple other things I don't recall.
Yeah.
But they started sleeping through the night on their own about like 6 or 7 months.
Amazing.
So we didn't ever feel. I'm not against it. I feel like I'd probably lean more pro, especially as
Yeah.
multiples.
Pro
Yeah.
sleep training. you
Pro,
mean.
yeah,
Yeah.
sorry,
Yeah.
pro sleep training,
hmm
but we didn't need to do it. And I guess I've looked at doing that now as like toddlers, but it's expensive. And then they want to charge you double for the twins. So we haven't looked into that
Got you.
again right now, but not against it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Daniel has strong opinions. I know you want to say them. Go, boo.
Yes. Well, it was a very much convincing Nia of sleep training because we were getting no sleep with
Yeah.
Asher, and
We would take shifts in the night. Like I would set an alarm for 2 a.m. So Daniel would sleep on the daybed in Asher's room with him until 2. And then I would
That's a
come in
lot.
and switch out. And then so we'd each try to get some sleep.
it was brutal. And homie needs his sleep.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I need 14 hours. I need 14 hours to function. You know.
14?
I'm just kidding. Really? You have 3 kids and yeah, no. I'm getting about.
I think we
average of
probably
2.5 to 3.
We probably would have sleep trained, like
Yeah,
you're
that's
saying, if
Right.
yeah.
If they weren't so Asher made the mistake of, well, it wasn't a mistake. It was waiting for you to come around and taking care of babies. And we didn't do it until he was a year old. At that point, this boy's talking. So it's better when they're just crying, not when they're just saying, "Daddy, daddy, daddy, daddy,
Yeah.
pick me up, daddy, pick me up." So we did a hybrid situation. I'll try to be quick because usually you hear sleep trainings, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Go do it 15 minutes.
And we
do it
implemented
15
that
minutes.
type of thing
Okay.
too.
Nia was having none of that. She's like, "We are not leaving the room."
Would you like me to share my technique that I feel very comfortable with? Okay.
So, because I did all of it. So,
But it was my technique, but Daniel had to do it because I was still breastfeeding,
had
so I
to
didn't want to be
adapt.
around
I
Asher.
had to adapt to your technique so that we could get it done. And it was amazing. It was tough the first couple of days, but the first day I was in there for like an hour and 46 minutes before he finally, stopped crying, and I didn't ever pick him up and the whole thing. Second day was like 42 minutes. Third night was like 7 minutes. And by the fourth night, he was pointing and saying "in." And that was it.
That's
and then he
great.
would sleep all the way through the night. And it happened and people would say that, and I'm like, there's no possible way. There's no possible way. And then it happened. So with the twins,
Nia's raising her virtual hand.
finally, Nia was like, "You're right," which she doesn't say often.
She doesn't have to, Daniel.
Watch it.
Unless he is.
Exactly. We did the twins at what, 6, 7 months?
7 months. We would have done it at 6,
Yeah.
but it was the holidays. So we waited till we got back from the holidays, and that was 7 months.
Yeah, because there was so much traveling and going on during that. And it's like,
I would like to share a
obviously,
technique
as we
quickly
know,
because I feel like I want there to be a lot of practical takeaways, like tangible takeaways. So can I share the technique that we actually did do?
1, 2, 3, go.
Okay. So traditional sleep training is like you leave the room and let your baby cry for a certain amount of time. First, maybe it's 5 minutes, and then you come back in and soothe them. and then leave again for 10 minutes, come back and soothe them, leave again for 15, and then you continue to do 15 over and over again. I was not comfortable with that, so we did a technique where we never left the room, but we never picked up the baby, whether it was the girls or when we did it with Asher. So we left them in their crib, but we soothed them until calm with rubbing their back and using like positive words and you're safe and it's time to go to bed and all of those things. And then once they were calm, we would sit back like in the rocking chair in the room. And then we had a certain time. So I think it was just 1 minute of crying. Like we would let them cry for a minute and then we'd soothe them until calm. And that's why the first day it took 1 hour and 45 minutes because it's like so tedious of like, watch the clock, 1 minute. Okay. Soothe till calm. Okay. And then like, it was a lot of back and forth.
We love the timers.
Oh, we do. We love timers. Yes. So that technique worked for us and was efficient. And it was the same with the girls. It was a little bit harder with twins. I rearranged the entire room. So I put one crib on one side of the room, the other crib on the other side of the room, and we each had to do it together. Yeah. So Daniel did Asher's. We did it together, and we had the same technique. And then I would think it took still about 4 days with the twins. Yeah. But the thing for me with my like mama heart is I could not leave the room and have my child screaming for me for 15 minutes straight. Like I couldn't do that. And we've talked about like childhood things and whatever. I'm like, I probably have some issues with abandonment. So I'm not leaving my kid to scream for 15 minutes and I don't want to mess with their like cortisol levels. That's just where where my head went.
Here we go.
So we stayed with them. They never felt alone. In my mind, they never felt alone. They knew they were safe. They knew they were, by a loved one, but they also learned to fall asleep in their own crib. And it worked within 4 nights for each. Like,
we were pretty similar that like neither one of us were really comfortable with leaving them crying for extended periods of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can agree with that.
Do what works for you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It is wild that, I don't know how you guys have yours set up, but we have, no, because yours are older. So we have the 2 cribs that are right next to each other, and one can be screaming bloody murder, and 2 feet away, the other one is just passed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a twin superpower that they can do that. Ours did that as well. It still happens.
Can't believe it.
Yeah. Also, as the theme of changing as you parent is just we've gone through multiple iterations of what their room looks like. Mm-hmm. So the cribs have changed spots multiple times, but right now they're like head to head.
Got you.
What you said taking shifts, like you guys took shifts, and sometimes you still do. I think I'm not sure if you said you still do, but we did something similar. We did like 1 night on, 1 night off. We would trade. Sometimes we would do shifts if she was still breastfeeding. I think there's a nugget of wisdom in there where like you take shifts with your partner, you separate it out somehow, but you carry that equal burden overnight. Yep. I think a lot of people try and cut up the day differently or the same way they cut up the night. And I don't kind of agree with that. Like, for example, if somebody's at work all day, maybe that parent's always taking care of the kids at night. I don't love that because everybody needs their sleep. I mean, you were saying it earlier, right? You need 100%. Your 14 hours. We got to get you your 14 hours. So yeah, I think it's just important for parents and partners to cut up the night equally.
I agree. Yeah. I really like that nugget. This might be like a little bit of an easier kind of quick one, but what do you guys do with screen time? How do you manage it? What's your technique for your household? What works for you guys?
I mean, we pretty much avoid screen time with the exception of heavy travel days. Like we have iPads. They're allowed to see and watch their iPads and use their iPads when we're on the plane or when we're on a very long road trip. Mm-hmm. In rare occasions, we'll give them the iPads if like we don't have childcare and we either are both working or both have to do something for a short period of time. Yeah. And then lately, there's a show, Gabby, that they'll watch as a reward for...
We dealt with constipation this past year, and it's currently a reward for after pooping in the potty.
Yeah.
Got it. Got it.
And we're kind of weaning off of that now that we're pretty consistent in that department. So they use it. We've used it in the past when they were younger kids too, but I think we lean as heavily as we can on the active play, the puzzles, the toys, everything else. And we use that when we need to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right?
Do you have shows that you like? So you like Gabby's Dollhouse. What other shows are you like? Okay.
Trash Truck.
Uh-huh.
Also on Netflix.
Crash.
A lot of different Trash Truck.
It's really cute and it's very low stimulation. Yes, that is what we're teaching them.
Exactly.
Little Bear. Like from our childhood, Little Bear. That we watched that on YouTube. Wow. Yeah, it's very low stimulation. We do Daniel Tiger's good. They love Pinkalicious. If I mean, your
Never
girls
heard of
will,
it.
okay, your girls will like Pinklicious. And
Pinklicious is PBS, but there's a book series.
There's a book series. There's a Tony character too.
Yeah.
And then a lot of Mickey Mouse cartoons.
Oh, I know we love Mickey here, but Mickey is so high stimulation. I will literally be like, you can watch one Mickey Mouse Roadster.
Yeah.
And it's great. It's cute. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just like very high stimulation. And it's not even like, I don't necessarily, sometimes I feel bad like giving them the screen when I need to do something, but I'm like, but I have to do it.
Yeah.
And the other day we wanted to have dinner with friends and we're like, okay, we don't have a sitter. We'll just bring the iPads. And we got to sit there and have dinner and talk with friends we hadn't been able to do that with. And so I think there's an intention behind it.
Right.
Well, they were also there. They were like playing educational games too. They weren't just
they were playing like
watching
you said to
shows.
do, Duolingo.
Oh.
They were doing their Duolingo
and
letters.
they love it.
Amazing.
Awesome.
Yay. I was going to say on the iPads, do you have games? Like what ones do you guys like?
No, I mean, honestly, I really haven't done anything other than the Duolingo, which you suggested that we do. I know there's some on PBS that people like.
There's an animal matching game that we use that they love.
Owly Boo is one that our friend Mackenzie told me about. And I first played it on like desktop. And then there's an app that's just like animal sounds and there's 3 different levels. So there's some that have like puzzles and things like that. And they like that one too.
Okay, good. I love this. I feel like these are good little takeaways.
Yeah.
We do Miss Rachel.
Yeah.
Miss Rachel's our bestie. We love her.
And we did do that at one point.
Yeah, when they were younger, we were all big Miss Rachel fans.
Right. And so the girls, it's still good for their age group. So we like Miss Rachel. We do Bluey sometimes. That was brand new.
Just came out of nowhere.
In the last 2 weeks, Daniel's
without
what's happening?
Talking to your husband about that.
Oh.
Well,
so I just come in and
Does Daniel not feel considered?
28th episode of Bluey.
There's like 7 minutes.
That's the day that the
Exactly.
girls were throwing up all day long.
Yeah.
That's that day. The girls were throwing up from sun up to sundown.
Wait, but do you not like Bluey? Do you have opinions about Bluey?
I don't. I just like open communication.
Oh.
And agreeing on what we're doing.
Husbands need to be considered.
Exactly. And, we had been so adamant with Asher. I mean, it's the funny meme, you know what I mean? Or whatever it is. Like your first kid, he's only going to have organic. He's never going to watch screen time. And then all of a sudden your second kid's, you guys, they're watching Braveheart.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, who cares?
Yeah.
We need to eat something. But no, we also did a very specific learning, what's called the thing you got from Brittany. We did over and over with Asher.
Your Baby Can Learn is like a program. It's a little 20-minute video. It has books and flashcards that go along with it. And Asher at 1 year old was reading in Spanish, like sight words. And he would pick up a word, no pictures on it, like a card with no pictures, and he would bring it to me, and it would say aplaudir, and he would start clapping. Like he had sight words at 1 in multiple languages. So we want to get back to that with the girls.
He had never seen any cartoons
until 1. And then it was just Miss Rachel.
I think we were
just started watching cartoons.
Oh, maybe later.
No,
Asher.
I meant Miss Rachel. Like no screen time really besides that program until 1.
Right.
I mean, he has you to do voices, so I don't really know
That's
why he
true.
needs to watch anything.
Literally.
This is true.
That's a dad skill I do not have.
You have other skills, Nick.
I have other skills. Yeah.
Miss Rachel, that program, and then we didn't get into like cartoon Mickey stuff. He just loves to watch like the parades.
Yeah.
We watch like real life,
or the
like
castle,
Disney parades, the castle shows.
The castle shows and all
That's
that
a good
stuff
idea.
on YouTube.
Yeah, because it's more like it's just real time. I get overwhelmed by thinking about how their brain is firing off with the overstimulating shows. So I tried the one thing that I let them watch is like a few Winnie the Pooh episodes.
Yeah.
But even those, we don't do like the heffalumps. Like we skip past those parts.
You guys live together? Are you?
Is this when I'm at the studio working?
Okay, so we do have. Wow. We have so much more. I feel like anyone listening to this episode, we could talk all day long and give
100%.
so many other wonderful pieces of advice.
We'll have to do a part 2.
We might need a part 2. We might need to have you guys come back. I do want to end with like 2 more kind of wrapping up things. So one,
and we are going to have some talks after we're done with this podcast
about how much he loves you. That's what he's trying to say.
Exactly. So the first kind of question will be like just about like you guys as parenting, and the last one will be like an overall question for the whole episode. So not really as parenting, like as parents and partners and husband and wife, like how do you feel like, do you have things that you do to best support each other in parenting and like in your relationship to keep it healthy? Because obviously we all know, we have the belief that like a healthy family starts from the top down. So what works for you guys in your household?
I think we do tap in and tap out like we already talked about, but I think it's also the intentionality of just being aware, like trying to like pay attention. And I'll say like, how can I help you today? Or what's the way that you would feel best supported today? Can you think of another thing?
Yeah, I mean, we remind each other that we're on the same team a lot, because it's easy to beat up your partner when your kids are frustrating you, because you don't want to, you don't want to take it out on your kids. So it's easy to take it out on the person that's next to you. Yeah. And I think that constant reminder and the constant like attention to helping each other and being present is really important. I mean, separately from being parents, we're really honestly still learning how to keep our relationship healthy and a priority alongside the kid, because we pour a lot of our love and energy and time into the kids. And I think we do a good job as partners and parents as partners, right? But investing in each other, I mean, we're trying to find good ways to do date nights. We spend a lot of our private time together when they're after, they go to bed, and, we're working time back into like patterns of dating. But yeah, it's hard.
It's really hard. Yeah. It's really hard. I don't think we have a great answer for that.
I feel like I said a lot of nothing. I mean, she's been asking me to take her out on a date for a while now, and I want to, but it's hard. Yeah, it's hard, and it's like it's difficult. It's difficult because it's not that. Of course, I want to, and of course, we have the ability and the funds to. But like, I feel like I'm putting so much time and effort into making sure you and the kids are healthy during the day, and giving every piece of myself to that. It's just like it's second in my mind, which is, I know it shouldn't be. It should be a priority, but it's tough,
Well, and something I had to remind you is that it doesn't have to be this grandiose thing. You don't have to fly me to New York.
I'm a showman when it comes to the romance.
Fly me to the moon.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, she was asking
Nick
for more dates.
Planned a trip to New York, no big deal.
Yeah, I took her to New York for 3 or 4 days. That was the date.
I could have. I literally. It was such a surprise, and it's very sweet. But I'm like, we could just do a regular date night every weekend. Not,
on the block.
Yeah.
No, but I do appreciate the vulnerability. Vulnerability, is that?
Yeah.
Yes. Because I feel like a lot of parents of young children get into those moments and those seasons where it's like, okay, we're doing everything that we can to make good partners to each other while we're parenting, great parents to our children. And then also trying to work and maybe have a little bit of a personal life, but we still need to invest in each other, like privately without our kids. So it's a lot to juggle. And I feel like a lot of people can relate, because we can relate. We're also very much like in the same exact position. So
I feel like the one other thing though that I would say is just trying to have open communication. Like, don't bottle it up. Like, I guess read the room of like, if it's the appropriate time to like say something or give a suggestion, but you have something you need to interject, Daniel?
A lot of things is not the time right now, Nia. Not the time. It's never not the right time.
Well, that's the other thing is that it's sometimes you could forget. You may not even remember what you said or how you said it. And so it's hard. But I feel like a lot of things I at least see on TikTok or whatever about, it feels like a lot of, I guess, women specifically have a lot of pent up anger, and then they expect their husband to read their minds.
Right.
And you can't do that. Like, for example, Nate, are you familiar with Nate Bargatze, the comedian?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
love.
Yeah.
And we've been seeing him live since like we were in Dallas, so a while.
Yeah.
And there was recently like all these women got mad at him on TikTok. I'm like, what? I mean, I guess I haven't seen his new special at the time, but like I'd seen him live twice the last year, so I'm like, I have to have seen most of his work.
Right.
And I watched it and I was like, okay, these are the same type of jokes he always says. They don't offend me, but I would guess if I was triggered or in a relationship where there's not a consideration or open communication, I could see how that would be like offend you. But also he's like one of the best like stand-up guys like in the job. And so for those people, I feel sorry, because I feel like they may not have a partner who is willing to listen or like handle the load. But I think communication and saying like, hey, this bothered me is just, you have to be able to do that.
Yeah, I agree.
In an appropriate like tone of voice and everything.
All the little factors.
Yeah, to piggyback off of that, I think it's so easy, and I think this is maybe the biggest problem in families, and then even like, divorce that have kids, is not putting intention and paying attention to your marriage and making sure that you both are still your life isn't all about your kids. You're still making sure your guys' love tanks are full. Obviously, us both being people of faith, having those times together to get into the Word or read a good devotional, to try to start the day like that. Obviously, that's not as consistent as you'd like it to be because kids just, you gotta adapt. But being more intentional on having a great marriage and loving each other, because also at the end of the day, they're sponges and they're learning so much from how you act and, together in your marriage. So I think that's something that's not looked into enough, and I think it's really helpful.
It's kind of like putting your oxygen mask on first. Like we have to put on our together oxygen mask on because it'll trickle down.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
I love all
and lots
of
of
this.
sex. We should also have
it's very important. Yeah.
Lots of sex to just keep, our connection, physical, emotional, spiritual.
Learn your partner's love language.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know.
Sex.
I'm lucky. There's a sex.
Sex is not one of the languages. I'm sorry.
You would think it was. You would think it was. Okay, let's wrap up with, I know we've given so much good advice and things that work for our families that hopefully might help another family. Who knows? Is there anything else that we haven't talked about? Like one additional, kind of big piece of parenting advice that works or has worked for young children from any stage, from 0 to 3?
I know what it is, but you want to say it?
Oh, you have one thing? Now I'm nervous.
What's our one thing we tell people that Heidi and Chris said it to us? What's our one thing we say?
You say it and I'll remember it.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Just bring your kids into the life with you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Bring them with you.
Yeah.
They'll adapt. Like we've always liked to travel. We've been traveling with them since they were 6 weeks old.
Yeah.
It doesn't get easier. There are parts that get easier. That's just an example of something, but just bring them with you and they will adapt. Like our kids are great around adults because we also bring them around adults. We have a group of friends who we're the only ones with kids and they're awesome with it. I think you're modeling for them and it also just helps them learn to go with the flow. Like obviously we still have those teenager moments right now, but they're still learning and they're seeing everything around them. So I would just bring them with you.
If you play volleyball, bring your kids with you to play volleyball. If you golf, bring your kids with you to golf. If you travel, bring your kids with you to travel. It will be hard, but it's always beautiful. It's always rewarding. I mean, they've been on 65, 66 airplanes by this point in their lives. And they love traveling. They're super comfortable with other people. They're comfortable with strangers. They're comfortable performing in an airport terminal,
I think you start small. If you're nervous about going out to eat, maybe take them to Chick-fil-A and sit at the table.
Right.
Start there and then you could work up to a Chili's or something,
Yeah.
I think just constantly doing it, even though it may be hard, is a good way to just push through and keep going, and you'll kind of get to where at least you kind of want to be.
Yes.
Love that.
I love that. That's such a good note to end on. Your kids are a part of your life. Bring them into your life with you. I love that so much. Well, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it. We appreciate all the advice. We love you guys. And thank you for listening to the Hold My Crown podcast. We will see you next week, every single week on Wednesday, sometimes Thursday. And we hope you guys have a wonderful day and we'll be praying for you. Bye.
Let's go.
Yay Media Group.